All right, let's take a journey deep inside our own bodies. We're going to explore this absolutely incredible internal logistics network, a superhighway that keeps every single part of you running smoothly 24/7.
I mean, just stop and think about that number for a second. Your body is like a massive city with about 37 trillion individual citizens, your cells, and every single one of them needs food, needs oxygen, and needs its trash taken out, constantly. How on earth do you manage that? It's a logistical nightmare.
Well, the solution is the circulatory system. And it's not just a solution, it's an absolute marvel of engineering. It's a network so brilliant and so powerful, it makes any highway system we've ever built look like a dirt road. It's the reason that city of trillions is not just surviving, but thriving.
Okay, so let's start with the stuff that's actually doing the delivery. The first piece of the puzzle is blood. You can think of it as the ultimate delivery service, carrying pretty much everything to everywhere.
Now, if you actually break blood down, it's pretty surprising. Over half of it, about 55%, is this yellowish fluid called plasma. That's mostly water, sure, but it's also packed with all sorts of proteins, hormones, and salts. The other 45%, well, that's what we call the formed elements. These are the actual cells doing all the heavy lifting. And those workers? They basically fall into three specialized teams. First up, you've got your red blood cells. They're the oxygen couriers. Then you have the white blood cells, which are basically your immune system's security force. And finally, you've got platelets, the emergency repair crew that patches up any leaks. Every team has a super important, very specific job.
And if you want to know just how serious the system is about delivering oxygen, just look at this number. In one tiny, single cubic millimeter of your blood, like a tiny drop, there are around 5 million red blood cells. They absolutely dominate the population of your blood, and for a very, very good reason.
You know, these red blood cells are just perfectly designed for their job. It's brilliant. A mature red blood cell actually gets rid of its nucleus just to make more room for oxygen. It doesn't have mitochondria, so it never gets tempted to use up the oxygen it's supposed to be delivering. It's super flexible, so it can squeeze through the tiniest blood vessels, and it works tirelessly for about 120 days before it gets recycled. Just a perfect little delivery drone.
So while the red cells are delivering, the white cells are defending, and one of their main weapons is this process called phagocytosis. Honestly, the best way to think of it is like a microscopic Pac-Man. When a defender cell, like a neutrophil, finds an invading bacterium, it literally just chases it down, swallows it whole, and digests it. It is your body's frontline defense force in action.
And what about that repair crew, the platelets? Well, the second you get a cut, this incredible chain reaction just kicks off. Platelets swarm the area and start this cascade of signals. They release a chemical that ultimately activates an enzyme called thrombin. And thrombin is the real hero here. It takes a protein that's just floating around in your blood, called fibrinogen, and turns it into these sticky, insoluble threads called fibrin. These threads form a net, trapping other blood cells and creating a plug. It's basically a perfect, instant biological bandage.
Of course, all this blood wouldn't go anywhere without an engine to push it. And that's the heart. But it's not just a simple pump. No, it's a really sophisticated, incredibly powerful double pump engine, with both sides working in perfect harmony.
So the heart is split into 4 rooms, or chambers. The 2 on the right side, their whole job is to handle the deoxygenated blood that's coming back from the body after it's made its deliveries. The 2 chambers on the left side handle all the fresh, oxygen-rich blood that's just come back from the lungs, ready to be sent out on another round. And this setup perfectly shows off that double pump design. Your blood basically makes 2 different trips. The pulmonary circuit is the short trip, heart to lungs, lungs back to heart, just to pick up oxygen. Then there's the systemic circuit. That's the huge cross-country journey from the heart out to every single cell in your body and all the way back again. 2 totally separate circuits powered by one amazing system.
So which part of the heart is the strongest? That would be the left ventricle, no question. Its muscular wall is way thicker than any of the others. And why is that? Well, the right ventricle only has to pump blood right next door, to the lungs. But the left ventricle, it has to generate enough power to shove blood all the way up to your brain and all the way down to the tips of your toes. It has the toughest job in the building.
And it does this massive job with unbelievable speed. A full cardiac cycle, that's the squeeze and release of all 4 chambers, one complete heartbeat, takes less than a second, just 0.8 seconds to push blood through both of those circuits and get ready to do it all over again. It's just mind-bogglingly efficient.
So, we've got the cargo, the blood, and we've got the pump.
the heart. Now we need the roads, and that's where the blood vessels come in. They are the highways, the main streets, and all the tiny little back alleys that connect everything.
Now, there are two main types of these roads: arteries and veins. And here's the key difference you have to remember. Arteries always carry blood away from the heart. Think A for away. Because this blood is under really high pressure from the heart's pump, artery walls have to be thick and muscular. Veins, on the other hand, carry blood towards the heart. The pressure is way lower, so their walls are thinner. And they have these cool little one-way valves to make sure the blood doesn't flow backward.
But where does the actual delivery happen? It's not on the big highways. It happens in the tiny little residential streets called capillaries. These things are microscopic, so narrow that red blood cells have to line up and squeeze through in single file. And their walls are only one cell thick. That's what allows oxygen and nutrients to easily pass out to the body's tissues and for waste products to pass back in. This is where all the action happens.
You've probably had your blood pressure taken at the doctor's office. But what is it really? Well, it's actually pretty simple. It's just a measurement of the force your blood is pushing against the inside of your artery walls. And we measure two numbers: the systolic, which is the peak pressure when your heart contracts, over the diastolic, which is the lower pressure when your heart relaxes between beats.
So a healthy reading is usually right around 120 for that peak systolic pressure and 80 for the resting diastolic pressure. That's why you always hear people say 120 over 80. It's just a snapshot that tells us the pressure in those arteries is at a good, healthy level, both when the heart is working and when it's resting.
Now, this whole system is incredible, but you know what? It doesn't work alone. It's got a crucial partner, a sidekick system that handles all the drainage, surveillance, and general maintenance to keep the whole superhighway clean and safe.
And that partner is the lymphatic system. The best way to think about it is like the city's storm drain system and its security force all rolled into one. It runs right alongside the blood vessels, playing a few really important roles that often get overlooked.
So, what does it actually do? Well, for starters, as blood flows through those tiny capillaries, a little bit of plasma fluid leaks out into your tissues. The lymphatic system mops up all that excess fluid and returns it to the blood. It also helps absorb fats from your food. But, most critically, it has these things called lymph nodes. They're like security checkpoints where immune cells screen the fluid for any germs and destroy them before they can cause trouble.
And one of the star players in this whole support network is the spleen. This organ is a true multitasker. It holds on to a reserve of blood in case of emergency. It's a major hub for producing those immune cells we talked about, and it also serves as the official graveyard for old, worn-out red blood cells, breaking them down so their parts can be recycled and reused.
So when you put it all together, from trillions of deliveries happening every second, to an integrated defense force, to a full-on repair and recycling system, this entire network just works perfectly, every moment of every day, without you having to think about it even once. It's just an absolute masterpiece of biological engineering. And it kind of makes you wonder, what other incredible things are happening inside of you right this very second?